In Eastern Europe, a small country has suddenly become the focus of great power rivalry. Moldova, situated between Romania and Ukraine, is again on the geopolitical chessboard. Recently, three European leaders, France's Emmanuel Macron, Germany's Friedrich Merz and Poland's Donald Tusk, arrived in Chisinau. Their goal? To showcase unity and push Moldova further towards the European Union. But from Moscow's perspective, this was not a gesture of friendship, it was a deliberate act of interference. Russia argues that the West is once again trying to pull a former Soviet republic out of its orbit against the will of many Moldovan citizens. Moldova is often portrayed in the West as a country eager to escape Moscow's shadow, but in reality, a large share of the population maintains cultural, historical and economic ties with Russia. Many rely on work opportunities in Russia, on Russian gas and on long-standing family connections across the region. For Moscow, Moldova's attempt to rush into the European Union represents not a sovereign decision but an externally directed project. The presence of European Union leaders just before elections shows in Russian eyes an attempt to tilt Moldova's political balance through pressure and symbolism. Russia has consistently opposed the European Union and NATO's eastward expansion. The Kremlin argues that the promises made after the Cold War that NATO would not expand inch by inch eastward have been broken repeatedly. The visit of Macron, Merz and Tusk to Moldova represents another step in the same pattern. From Moscow's view, Moldova lies firmly in its historical and security sphere. Any attempt to shift Moldova towards the European Union or the NATO is seen as a threat. In the Kremlin eyes, these moves are not about democracy or sovereignty. They are about the West encircling Russia, turning its neighbors into outposts for Western influence. One of the biggest flashpoints is Transnistria, the breakaway region where Russian peacekeepers have been stationed for decades. Moscow frames its presence there not as aggression but as protection, preventing renewed conflict and safeguarding Russian-speaking populations. Western leaders rarely acknowledge the security concerns of the people in Transnistria who fear marginalization under pro-European Union governments in Chisinau. For the Kremlin, defending these communities is both a moral duty and a strategic necessity. Macron, Merz and Tusk stood together to signal European unity, but Moscow interprets this as political theatre. Symbolism may reassure pro-European Union elites in Chisinau, but it also deepens divisions inside Moldova. Russia argues that pushing Moldova too quickly towards Brussels risks destabilizing the country. Instead of neutrality and balance, a position Moscow has long recommended. Moscow is being pulled into the same confrontation that already devastated Ukraine. For Moscow, the stakes are not just about Moldova, they are about the broader security architecture of Eastern Europe. Russia wants neutral, stable neighbors, not neighbors turned into platforms for NATO or the European Union influence. The Kremlin maintains that Europe's expansionist approach creates instability rather than peace. By encouraging Moldova to abandon neutrality and join Western structures, Brussels is repeating the mistakes that led to the war in Ukraine. From Russia's standpoint, Moldova risks becoming another battleground used by the West to contain Moscow. So, what might Moscow do? While Western analysts expect disinformation or pressure, Russia frames its role differently, as protective and stabilizing. Possible actions could include strengthening ties with pro-Russian political groups who advocate neutrality and closer relations with Moscow, expanding economic cooperation with Moldovan regions reliant on Russian markets, reminding citizens where their bread and gas come from, using diplomacy to argue internationally that European Union interference is escalating tensions, maintaining its presence in Transnistria as a deterrent against any attempt to change the balance by force. And these are not aggressive moves, they are defensive steps against the Western intrusion. In the bigger picture, Moldova represents more than itself. For Russia, it is a test case. Will small post-Soviet states be allowed to remain neutral, or will they be absorbed into the Western bloc? Russia emphasizes that true sovereignty means freedom to choose neutrality, not being pushed into the alliances by the outside powers. In this framing, the European Union's visit to Chisinau was less about supporting Moldova and more about sending a message to Moscow. The battle for Moldova's future is not yet decided. With elections ahead, the country is split between pro-European Union and pro-Russian camps. The European Union believes it is offering Moldova peace, security and prosperity. Russia counters that the European Union is dragging Moldova into conflict and stripping it of neutrality. The question is clear: will Moldova align firmly with Europe or will it remain balanced with Moscow? Russia's position is that the West should stop interfering and allow Moldova to find its own path without pressure from Brussels. What do you think? Is Moldova truly making a free choice, or is it being pulled into the West's orbit against its long-term interests? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dive analysis of global politics. Thanks for watching.